the working labors and legal legislations and so on, and to see that he is really fulfilling the basics. And if without this audit letter receiving from you, we found out that there is a risk, then we can deep dive in that. But in most cases, hopefully that will not be the case. And then we know we covered the whole portfolio of suppliers and have hopefully a good feeling.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay.
So for me, that is, oh, well, if you guys have anything more to add, please do. For me, that is all of our questions right now, but go ahead. I see that you have a thought. No? Okay. So Rafael, do you have anything to add before we close up the meeting?
No, but thanks again, and we will share the progress of this project with you. So I was saying that the first goal we have is to define the scope, and we would like to share that with you in order to have some feedback and also keep you updated on what we're moving and how we're moving forward with this. So at some point, probably you can help us run a pilot and test the first results and get some feedback on a later stage. We will really appreciate that, and in that sense that we make sure that we both are benefiting from this.
Mm-hmm. Well, what is your timeline on this tool?
That's a good question. The first goal that we have is to define the scope, and that will determine the timeline and for the first iteration and the future iteration. So after this, we'll be gladly sharing with you a roadmap of what we are going to do with this tool.
And we are aiming
other things I'm going to be sharing with you.
We are aiming for beginning of next year.
On my understanding, my initial understanding was that you planned on developing something for to cover also an assessment of tail end. This from the call, I understood it's rather to develop a risk management tool rather than which gives us guidance in the end on where to prioritize our assessments, but it's to a lesser extent providing a solution that assesses really tail end suppliers on a large scale. Is my understanding correct?
Yes.
Yes, I can answer this one. Yeah. Okay. So actually, we are still exploring where do we really want to sit. We know that there is a big need on the market for this long tail of suppliers. That's for sure. And there are two different concepts. One is to understand where is the risk and what is the risk profile potentially on this long tail. And the second thing is to understand how this risk is mitigating by the actual performance of each company. Okay. And the problem that we are trying to solve, or that the challenge that we are trying to work on, is to say, what is the minimum needed in order to have an information that is reliable enough to take a decision on a level of performance of a company. And today at EcoVadis, we've explored many different options, and the conclusion as of today has been, well, we need to go through the current EcoVadis process to have to reach the acceptable level of reliability. Having said that, what we are exploring is there other type of information that maybe will not be as reliable as what we can produce through an EcoVadis assessment, but that will be good enough to bring another layer of risk mitigation on this long tail. Sorry. And of course, as you know, and that's what competition, some of the market players are doing, and we are investing a lot in this, probably Pierre-François have shared with you already. There is a lot of value potentially through news monitoring, social media monitoring, NGOs, specialized database monitoring, leveraging on AI in order to have some sign of performance level of a company. But as you know, this is not bulletproof, of course, but nothing is bulletproof, but this is maybe not good enough. So that's what we are exploring, because in fact, you only have the information too late when it's down the stream in terms of the risk, because when it's in the news, it means the problem has already occurred, whereby we've always worked and strive in EcoVadis to try to provide the market with a product that is really upstream in the risk by looking at the management system, so you can infer the risk. So to make a short question, it's a long answer, but the reality is that right now we are still exploring our various options. We have the technology that could allow us to do this monitoring of the news and the specialized database. And one of the big questions that we are right now working on is, if we go in the direction whereby we would have a very light assessment of a company. So that means not only we look at the profile in terms of risk, but we try also to understand what is the level of performance of this company. There are two big questions. The first one is, would this be good enough and serious enough, let's say, for large corporation to take decision based on this light information? That's the first question. And the second question is more also on our existing business, of course, is how much would this potentially cannibalize? And I'm being very transparent with you. There is a risk for us because you know what we are doing. You understand very well what we are doing, but we have like 34,000 customers globally. They don't understand, all of them, as well what we are doing. And if we start providing the market with a kind of unverified SAQ, then we're going to suddenly be assimilated with all those companies that are in fact doing this. And we are fighting against this because we think that it doesn't bring the right level of reliability for a Fortune 500 to take a decision. So that's a super big challenge for us. We haven't cracked the code yet. But that's why we're talking to you. That's why we're talking to our customer, to try to understand if there is not a middle ground which would solve this long tail problem. Because in another word, and still be very humble, and in an ideal world, tomorrow everybody will have an EcoVadis assessment, and this question will not be asked anymore. So it's just the chicken and egg problem that we are trying to solve now. So what do we do from now? That's only a number of companies have an EcoVadis assessment, to maybe in 10, 15, 20 years time from now, when it will be a no-brainer, every company will have either an EcoVadis or another type of CSR assessment, but all of them will have one. So how do we go from where we are today up to this direction without compromising the opportunity, and still be able to deliver a product that is useful for our client? And again, we have this challenge of market understanding what we are doing, and it's a constant fight to continue to reassure the market that verifying data is an important step to reach the level of reliability needed for those decisions to be taken. So that's where we are today.
That's exactly also our point. Fully understood, and it's very clear and makes sense. And Aspen has an additional comment.
Yeah, maybe just one additional comment, because I also attended the Sustain event, when was it, in April in Paris. What I understood is that you take also the burden of analytics a little bit from your analysts by using artificial intelligence, whatever, so that you that really the human intervention is reduced to a limit, or to an extent that still has the quality you want to have within EcoVadis. So I could also imagine that compared with a blood test, so that you have a speed test before you do the extensive EcoVadis test, which would be sufficient for a first assessment, so that you in the long run do the speed test first, and then only start the EcoVadis extensive process once you get an indication for it. So then you do not really contradict to your EcoVadis aspect or to the process as such, but you have an indication in the very beginning what is the level of risk that is associated to the fire.
But again, it's just an indication. it would be just an indication, and we would, I mean, we would really challenge the level of reliability of